Anna woke up before the sun. The small alarm clock beside her bed rang softly, but she was already awake. Her tiny apartment was dark and cold, the wallpaper old and peeling, the silence broken only by the soft breathing of her little girl, Lily. Anna sat up slowly, looking at her daughter sleeping on the thin mattress. For a moment, she wished Lily could rest longer, dream longer, live in a world where life was kinder. But reality knocked hard every morning. Bills had to be paid, food had to be bought, and rent waited for no one. She got ready quietly, tying her hair in a simple bun and putting on her faded uniform. It was the same blue uniform she wore every day for her cleaning job at one of the tallest office buildings in the city. She looked at the clock again. Too early for most people, but for Anna, it was already late. She needed to leave soon. She turned back to Lily and whispered softly, "Wake up, sweetheart. It's time." Lily opened her eyes slowly, rubbing them with her tiny fists. She was only 6 years old, with big brown eyes full of curiosity. But this morning, those eyes looked tired. "Mama, I don't want to go today," she said in a soft voice. Anna's heart sank. Normally, she left Lily with her elderly neighbor, Mrs. Miller, who kindly watched over the child while Anna worked. But today, Mrs. Miller was sick, coughing badly the night before. Anna had no choice. She couldn't leave Lily alone in the apartment, not even for a few hours. That meant Lily would have to come with her to the office building. Anna knelt down and hugged her daughter. "I know, baby," she said gently. "But today you'll come with Mama. You'll sit quietly, draw, and be my little helper. All right?" Lily nodded, though her face showed she wasn't happy. She picked up her small bag. Inside were a few crayons and pieces of scrap paper. It was all she had for play. The morning air outside was cold as Anna held Lily's hand tightly. They walked through the busy streets, past people rushing for buses, past expensive cars rolling by. Anna tried not to look at the shining advertisements and the luxury stores. They belonged to another world, a world she had no key to enter. Her world was survival, day by day. Finally, they reached the tall glass building where Anna worked. It rose into the sky like a giant, shining brighter than anything else around it. Every time she saw it, she felt small, almost invisible. The people inside wore suits, carried briefcases, and spoke loudly on their phones. They were powerful, rich, and important. Anna was just a cleaner. Her job was to make sure their offices were spotless while they signed deals worth millions. Inside, the air smelled of perfume and money. Anna bent down and whispered to Lily, "Stay close, and don't make noise. Promise?" Lily nodded again, clutching her bag of crayons. Anna went straight to the cleaning supply room, picked up her tools, and began her work. She wiped desks, cleaned windows, and mopped the shiny floors. Her hands moved quickly, years of practice making her efficient. Lily sat in the corner, quietly drawing little houses and flowers on her scraps of paper. But Anna's heart beat fast. What if someone saw Lily? What if her supervisor found out? Bringing a child was against company rules. She could lose her job. She couldn't afford that. Losing this job meant losing their home, their food, their fragile safety. She prayed silently, hoping today would pass without trouble. Hours went by. Lily stayed quiet, sometimes humming softly while coloring. Anna felt relief. Maybe everything would be fine. Maybe nobody important would notice. But fate had other plans. As Anna was polishing the glass table in the main office, she suddenly heard heavy footsteps echoing in the hallway. It was not the usual sound of employees. These steps were confident, firm, carrying authority. Anna froze. Her body stiffened. She didn't even need to look up to know someone powerful was coming. Lily lifted her head from her drawing, curious. "Mama, who's that?" she whispered. Anna's hands trembled slightly as she placed the cleaning cloth down. She prayed it was only a manager, maybe a secretary. But as the door opened, her worst fear came true. The man who entered was none other than Mr. Collins, the CEO of the company. A millionaire, feared and respected by everyone. He was tall, well-dressed in a dark suit, his presence filling the entire room. His eyes were sharp, his face unreadable. Employees often whispered about him. Some said he was ruthless, others said he was brilliant, but all agreed he was the most powerful man in the building. And now, Those sharp eyes were staring directly at Lily. The little girl looked back innocently, holding her crayon. She had drawn a picture of a house with smoke rising from its chimney. She smiled softly, showing no fear. Anna's heart pounded louder than ever. She felt her world about to collapse. This was it, the moment she would lose her job, maybe even her last chance at survival. Mr. Collins walked slowly toward them. Each step sounded like thunder to Anna. She wanted to speak, to explain, but no words came. Her lips felt frozen. Finally, the CEO stopped in front of Lily. He bent slightly, his eyes narrowing as he looked at the child's drawing. For a long moment, he said nothing. The silence was heavy. Anna held her breath, waiting for anger, for orders, for punishment. Instead, Mr. Collins's voice came, low and strange. "This reminds me of something," he whispered. Anna's eyes widened. She didn't understand. What could a millionaire CEO see in her little girl's crayon drawings? And why did his face look as if he had just seen a ghost from the past? Mr. Collins stood in silence, his eyes fixed on the little girl's drawing. The lines were simple, uneven, the colors going outside the shapes, but there was something in it that struck him deep inside. A small house, 2 people holding hands, a tree with red dots for apples. Something so ordinary, yet it made his chest tighten. Anna's heart raced. She finally found her voice. I'm sorry, sir," she stammered. She had no one to stay with today. "I didn't want to disturb anyone, but I had no choice. Please forgive me. I promise it won't happen again." She expected anger, a sharp tone, maybe even the words "you're fired." But instead, the CEO did not look at her. His eyes stayed on Lily. "What's your name?" he asked softly. Lily looked up at him, blinking her big eyes. She wasn't afraid, only curious. "My name is Lily," she said in a clear, innocent voice. "And what are you drawing, Lily?" His tone was calm, almost gentle, very different from the cold voice employees usually heard in meetings. Lily smiled and held up her paper. "This is me and Mama. That's our home." She pointed at the small square house she had drawn. "And that's a tree with apples. Mama says one day we'll have a little garden, and I'll climb trees and pick apples." Mr. Collins stared at the drawing again. His hand twitched slightly, as if he wanted to touch it but held himself back. His throat felt dry. For a second, his usual mask of strength slipped, and his face looked almost sad. Anna noticed. She didn't understand what was happening. Why wasn't he angry? Why was he acting so strangely? "I told you, sir," Anna said carefully, "I didn't want to break the rules. But I couldn't leave her alone." She lowered her head. "If you want to punish me, I'll accept it. Just don't be hard on her. She's only a child." Collins finally lifted his eyes from the paper and looked at Anna. There was something unreadable in his gaze. Not anger, not pity, something else. "I'm not going to punish you," he said. His voice was low, almost thoughtful. Anna froze, surprised. Instead of walking away, Collins turned back to Lily. "Do you like coming here with your mother?" Lily giggled softly. "It's big here. And shiny. But Mama works too much. She gets tired. Sometimes she forgets to eat." She said it so openly, without fear, like only a child could. Anna's cheeks burned. "Lily," she whispered sharply, embarrassed. But Mr. Collins didn't seem bothered. In fact, his lips curved slightly, almost like a hidden smile. Then he asked another question. "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Lily thought for a moment. Her tiny hand tapped her chin. Then she said, "I want to be a teacher. I want to help children like me. I want to teach them to draw and read." Those words hit Collins like a stone. He closed his eyes for a second, a memory flashing in his mind, his own mother's voice, long ago, telling him she dreamed of being a teacher, but life had been too hard. When he opened his eyes again, there was a strange shine in them. He straightened his shoulders and looked at Anna. "Take a seat," he said. Anna blinked, confused. "Sir?" "I said, sit down," Collins repeated, his tone firm but not harsh. "We need to talk." Anna hesitated, then slowly sat on the edge of a chair, clutching her cleaning cloth nervously. She didn't know if this was good or bad. Collins walked to his desk, picked up the phone, and pressed a button. "Send my assistant in," he ordered. Then, after a pause, he added, "and cancel my morning meeting." Anna's heart dropped. Why was he cancelling his important work? Just because of her and Lily? That didn't make sense. Moments later, his assistant entered the room, looking surprised. Collins leaned closer and spoke in a low voice Anna couldn't fully hear. But she caught a few words: "Find out everything about her." Her stomach turned cold. "Find out everything about who?" "About me." "Why?" The assistant nodded quickly and left. Collins leaned back in his chair, his eyes fixed on Anna again. "You've been working here for how long?" he asked. "Almost 2 years, sir," Anna answered quietly. "And before that?" "I worked at a small diner, but it closed down." Her voice was shaky. She felt like she was being judged, tested. Collins drummed his fingers on the desk. He looked serious, deep in thought. "Life has not been easy for you, has it?" Anna didn't reply. What could she say? He was a millionaire. He could never understand her struggles. But then he said something unexpected. "You remind me of someone." His eyes softened, his voice quiet. "Someone I lost a long time ago." Anna's chest tightened. She didn't know what to say. Collins stood, his tall frame casting a shadow across the room. He walked slowly toward Lily again. She looked up at him, fearless, her crayon still in her hand. He knelt down slightly, lowering himself to her level. "Lily," he said, "may I keep this drawing?" The little girl tilted her head. "Why?" "Because," he whispered, his voice almost breaking, "it reminds me of home." Anna's eyes widened. She had never heard a man of power speak in such a fragile way. What did he mean? Collins stood again, his mask of control slipping back into place. He adjusted his tie, his expression unreadable once more. But Anna could tell, something had changed in him the moment he saw Lily's drawing. And she couldn't help but wonder what he was planning now. The room felt heavy with silence. Anna sat nervously on the edge of the chair, twisting the cloth in her hands. Lily quietly colored another page, humming a little tune as if nothing strange was happening. But to Anna, everything was strange. The CEO had asked her to sit, had cancelled his meeting, and had taken interest in her daughter's simple drawings. Why? Mr. Collins stood near the window, looking out at the city skyline. His reflection on the glass seemed far away, as though he was lost in another time. For years, people had seen him as untouchable, a man of money, control, and power. But right now, his mind was not in this office. It was somewhere deep in his past. He turned suddenly. "Lily," he said, his voice firm but not unkind. "Come here." The little girl looked up from her crayons. She hesitated for a moment, then walked over with her small drawing in hand. She held it up to him. "Do you want another one?" she asked sweetly. Collins bent down again. He studied her face closely, almost too closely, as if he was searching for something hidden in her features. Anna's chest tightened. Why was he staring like that? "You remind me," he whispered, then stopped himself. "Remind you of who, sir?" Anna asked carefully. Collins straightened, his jaw tightening. "Of someone I knew a long time ago," he said shortly. But his voice had lost its usual strength. He walked back to his desk, sat down, and leaned forward. "Lily," he asked, "what do you dream about? What do you want most in the world?" The little girl tapped her chin with a crayon. "I dream about a house with a big garden. Mama can rest, and I can play. And maybe we'll have a dog. Dogs are fun." She smiled brightly. Collins blinked rapidly, his eyes almost glassy. A sharp pain hit his chest. He remembered himself as a boy, sitting on a broken porch with his mother, listening to her say almost the same dream. She had wanted a small house, a garden, and a little dog. But life had stolen that dream before it could happen. "Interesting," he murmured. Anna shifted uncomfortably. She couldn't understand what was going through his mind. Was he mocking them? Was he only curious? Or was something deeper happening? Collins picked up his pen and tapped it against the desk. "Anna," he said suddenly, "tell me about your life. Where is Lily's father?" The question cut through the air like a knife. Anna froze. Her lips pressed tightly together. "He's gone," she finally said. Collins raised an eyebrow. "Gone where?" "Just gone," Anna said firmly, her voice breaking slightly. She didn't want to explain. The pain of betrayal, of being left behind, was too deep. Collins studied her carefully. He could see the strength in her eyes, the kind of strength that came from surviving, not from winning. He respected that, though he didn't show it. Then he turned his gaze back to Lily. "And how old are you, little one?" "I'm 6. Lily answered proudly. 6. Collins repeated the number in his head. 6 years old. The exact age he had been when his own mother had died. His chest tightened again. Fate was playing cruel games with him today. He stood up suddenly, walked to the door, and called his assistant again. Anna's heart started racing. Was this it? Was he going to fire her? The assistant entered, holding a folder. Collins spoke in a low, commanding tone. "I want every detail about her life. Where she lives, how she lives, everything. Do it quietly." Anna's eyes widened. She stood up quickly. "Why are you doing this?" she demanded, fear in her voice. "I work hard. I don't steal. I don't cause trouble. Why do you need to know everything about me?" Collins turned to her, his eyes cold but also full of something she couldn't read. "Because," he said slowly, "sometimes strangers are not as distant as they seem. Sometimes fate brings people together for a reason." Anna's breath caught in her throat. His words confused her even more. Collins dismissed his assistant and looked back at Anna and Lily. "Sit. I'm not finished." Reluctantly, Anna sat again. She was scared, but also strangely curious. Why was this man, a millionaire, taking such interest in her and her daughter? Collins leaned forward, his hands clasped together. His voice was lower now, almost personal. "Do you know what it feels like to have nothing, Anna?" She looked at him with tired eyes. "Yes. Every day." He nodded slowly, his face unreadable. "I do too. More than you think." For a moment, Anna saw something in him, loneliness, pain, a shadow of the boy he once was. But just as quickly, he straightened his back and the mask returned. Lily suddenly held out another drawing to him. "Here," she said with a big smile. "This one is you." Collins looked down. On the paper was a tall figure in a suit, standing beside a small girl and a woman. Above them was a sun with long yellow rays. For the first time in years, Collins felt his throat tighten. He swallowed hard, trying to hide the emotion rising inside. Anna watched closely. She had never seen a powerful man look so human, so vulnerable. Something inside her told her this meeting was no accident. Collins set the drawing gently on his desk. His voice was quiet but firm when he finally spoke. "This changes everything." Anna blinked, shocked. "What do you mean?" But Collins didn't answer. He stood up, looking out the window again. His shoulders seemed heavy, as if he carried a secret too big to share. Anna held Lily close, her heart beating fast. She didn't know what this man wanted from them. All she knew was that their lives were about to change, and she wasn't sure if it was for better or worse. The office was quiet, yet Anna felt the weight of 1,000 questions pressing down on her chest. She kept her hands folded tightly in her lap while Lily sat on the carpet, still drawing, completely unaware of the storm hanging in the air. Mr. Collins stood near his desk, staring at Lily's new picture as if it was more important than the contracts worth millions sitting in his drawers. His jaw clenched and unclenched. He looked like a man fighting something inside him, something he had hidden for years. Finally, he spoke. His voice was low, heavy. "Anna, do you know what it feels like to be abandoned by the world?" Anna looked down. "Yes," she whispered. "I know that feeling too well." He turned sharply toward her. Their eyes locked. For a moment, she didn't see a powerful CEO, but a broken man with shadows in his past. "When I was a boy," Collins began, his tone almost bitter, "my mother cleaned houses, much like you do now. She worked until her hands bled, until she collapsed. She told me one day she would be a teacher, but life never gave her that chance. One night, she got sick, and she never woke up. Anna's throat tightened. She could hear the pain in every word. This was not a story he told often, if ever. I was 6 years old, he continued. The same age as your daughter. Anna glanced at Lily, who was now humming to herself, still innocent, still smiling. A tear welled up in Anna's eye. Collins looked away, his face hard again. That's why when I saw your child, when I saw her smile, her drawings, I couldn't ignore it. It felt like the past had returned, like my mother was staring back at me through her eyes. Anna sat in silence, stunned. She had never expected this. She had feared anger, punishment, maybe even losing her job. Instead, the richest man she had ever seen was opening the deepest wound of his heart. But why? Collins pressed his hands against the desk. Do you understand now why I asked my assistant to look into your life? I had to know. I had to be sure. Anna's stomach knotted. Be sure of what? She asked cautiously. He walked closer, his voice softer now. Be sure that fate wasn't playing a cruel trick on me. That you weren't just another passing face. There's something about you and your daughter, something I cannot explain. Anna's heart pounded. Part of her wanted to trust him, but another part warned her to stay careful. This was a man with power beyond imagination. Power could be dangerous. I don't need charity, she said firmly. I've survived this long without anyone's help. I'll keep surviving. Collins studied her closely, then nodded slowly. Strong, he murmured. Just like her. Like who? Anna asked. He met her eyes. My mother. The words hung in the air. Anna didn't know how to respond. She could only sit still, her chest rising and falling with shaky breaths. At that moment, Lily ran up to her mother, holding another drawing. Look, Mama, she said brightly. This one is our family, with 3 people. Anna smiled weakly, looking at the picture. A woman, a little girl, and a tall man in a suit. Lily had drawn the CEO standing beside them. Collins froze. His hand trembled slightly as he reached for the paper. He stared at it as if it held the secret of the universe. Why did you draw me there, Lily? He asked in a whisper. Because you look lonely, Lily said simply. Everyone needs family. The room went silent. Anna covered her mouth, overwhelmed by her daughter's innocent words. Collins stood very still, fighting emotions he hadn't felt in decades. Finally, he turned to Anna. You and your daughter reminded me of what I lost. And maybe, of what I still need. Anna shook her head. Sir, please, don't play with us. We're simple people. My daughter doesn't understand your world. And I don't want her heart broken. Collins looked straight into her eyes. I'm not playing, Anna. Money can build empires, but it cannot erase loneliness. I've lived in golden cages for years, surrounded by wealth but empty inside. Meeting you, it feels like fate has opened a door I thought was sealed forever. Anna swallowed hard. She wanted to believe him, but fear whispered in her mind. She had seen people walk away before, people who made promises and then left nothing but scars. Still, something about his eyes told her this was different. Collins sat back down, covering his face with his hands for a moment, then lowering them with a deep breath. I cannot change the past. But maybe I can change what comes next. Maybe this time. I don't have to lose everything. Anna's chest tightened. Was he talking about them? Lily tugged on his sleeve, her little voice breaking the tension. Don't be sad, mister. You can be happy again. You just need friends. Collins let out a shaky laugh, though his eyes glistened. Friends, he repeated. Yes, maybe more than that. Anna's hands trembled. She knew this man carried secrets too heavy for a child to understand. But she also knew something important had just been revealed. This wasn't just about kindness. This wasn't about charity. This was about a man haunted by his past, and a mother and child who had unknowingly walked straight into the center of his broken heart. And Anna feared their lives were about to change in ways she could not yet imagine. Anna sat frozen, her mind spinning with everything Mr. Collins had said. She couldn't fully believe it. This powerful man, this millionaire CEO, was opening his heart to her and Lily. Part of her wanted to trust him, but another part feared what would come next. Mr. Collins leaned back in his chair, his eyes fixed on Anna. He was quiet for a long time, as if he was weighing every word. Finally, he spoke. "Anna, I want to make you an offer." Her stomach twisted. Offers from men like him rarely came without a price. "An offer," she repeated carefully. "Yes," he said firmly. "You work harder than anyone I've ever seen. You sacrifice everything for your daughter. That deserves more than a cleaner's salary. Starting tomorrow, I want you in a new position. A personal assistant role. Better hours, better pay, and benefits that will change your life." Anna's eyes widened. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "But, sir, I don't have training for such a job. I'm just—" "You're not just anything," Collins interrupted, his voice sharp but not unkind. "You're smart, disciplined, and strong. Skills can be taught. Heart cannot." Anna sat speechless, her hands trembling. She had never dreamed of such a chance. Better hours meant more time with Lily. Better pay meant food on the table, rent paid on time, maybe even a real future. But still, she hesitated. "Why me?" she whispered. Collins's eyes softened. "Because when I look at you, I see the same courage my mother once had. And because when I look at your daughter, I see the innocence I lost too early. You two remind me of something money can't buy." Anna's throat tightened. She wanted to cry but held herself back. Then Collins turned to Lily, who was busy drawing another picture. "And you, young lady," he said gently, "would you like to go to a good school? A place where you can learn, make friends, and draw as much as you like?" Lily's eyes lit up. "Really? With books and colors and everything?" Collins smiled faintly. "With everything." Anna gasped. "Sir, no. That's too much. We could never repay you." "I'm not asking for repayment," Collins replied. His voice was calm but full of something deeper. "I'm asking for trust." Anna's chest ached. Trust. That was the hardest thing for her to give. Life had taught her that promises break, people leave, and trust only leads to pain. But Lily was staring at her with hope shining in her eyes, hope Anna hadn't seen in years. Still, doubt lingered. "People don't just help without wanting something back," Anna said softly, almost to herself. Collins stood and walked slowly toward her. His tall frame cast a shadow over the chair where she sat, but his expression wasn't one of power, it was one of honesty. "You're right. Most people don't. But I've spent my entire life chasing money, chasing power. And it gave me nothing but loneliness. Helping you isn't about what I get back. It's about what I finally give." Anna looked into his eyes, searching for lies, but all she saw was truth. Painful, raw truth. Lily suddenly jumped up and hugged her mother. "Mama, say yes. Please. I want to go to school." Anna's heart broke. How could she deny her child a chance at happiness? She turned back to Collins, her voice trembling. "If I accept, what will happen to us?" Collins took a deep breath. "Your life will change. You'll have stability. Your daughter will have opportunity. And maybe," he paused, his voice softening, "maybe I will find something I lost long ago." Anna didn't know what to say. Her mind screamed caution, but her heart whispered hope. Collins stepped back toward his desk and picked up Lily's latest drawing. It showed 3 figures again, the same little girl, the same mother, and the same tall man in a suit. Sunlight shone over them. He held it carefully, almost reverently. "Perhaps children see what adults are too afraid to admit," he said quietly. Anna looked at the drawing too. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a different future, not one of endless struggle, but of safety, maybe even happiness. But just as she began to feel a fragile sense of peace, Collins's voice grew serious again. He set the drawing down and looked her straight in the eye. "There's one more thing you need to know," he said firmly. Anna's stomach dropped. "What is it?" Collins's expression was unreadable, his eyes shadowed with secrets. "Before you agree to anything, There's a truth I must tell you. Something that will change how you see me forever." The words hung in the air like thunder. Anna felt her chest tighten, fear and curiosity fighting inside her. Lily looked between them, innocent and unaware of the storm about to break. Whatever Collins was about to reveal, Anna knew it would not be simple. And it might change everything. The air inside the office grew heavier. Anna's chest tightened as Mr. Collins's words echoed in her ears, "There's a truth I must tell you." Her hands gripped the arms of the chair. She wasn't sure if she wanted to hear it, yet something deep inside told her she had no choice. Collins took a slow breath, his eyes clouded with memories. For a moment, the powerful CEO looked less like a man of wealth and more like a child carrying years of pain. He walked toward the window, staring out at the shining city below. His reflection in the glass looked lonely, almost broken. "When I was 6 years old," he began softly, "I lost everything. My mother was the only person who loved me, who believed in me. She worked as a cleaner, just like you. She used to tell me stories at night, stories about a better life. But then she became sick. I remember sitting beside her bed, holding her hand, praying she would wake up. She never did." His voice cracked, and for the first time, Anna saw tears glisten in his eyes. She was gone. And with her, so was my world. He paused, swallowing hard. I was left in the care of strangers. Cold walls, empty rooms, no one to call family. I grew up with nothing but anger. That anger turned into ambition. I told myself I would never be powerless again. And so I built this empire. Money, power, respect. I got it all. But every night, when I go home, there's nothing. Just silence. Just me. Anna's heart ached. She understood now why he had reacted so strangely to Lily's drawings, to her smile, to her words. They reminded him of everything he had lost. Collins turned back to her, his expression raw. "When I saw Lily, it was like seeing the ghost of my childhood. The innocence, the hope, the dreams. And when I saw you, I saw the same strength my mother had. The same fire in her eyes. I realized I couldn't walk away. I couldn't ignore it." Anna's lips trembled. "But why us? Why me and my daughter?" "Because," he said firmly, "you reminded me that life is not about numbers, or deals, or money. It's about love. About connection. About family. I have been empty for so long. And I think fate brought you here to remind me what I lost, and maybe what I can still find." Anna shook her head slowly. Tears filled her eyes, but she fought them back. "I don't know if I can believe in fate anymore. Life has been too hard. People always leave." Collins stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I'm not asking you to believe in fate. I'm asking you to believe in me." Her breath caught. Believe? That was the hardest word for her. Trust had been broken too many times. But when she looked at Lily, who was smiling brightly at the tall man, she felt her resolve weaken. Lily suddenly tugged at Collins's sleeve. "Don't be sad anymore, mister. You can be with us. Mama and me. We can be your family." Anna gasped softly. "Lily," she whispered, embarrassed. But Collins knelt down, meeting the little girl's eyes. "Family," he repeated, his voice shaking. "Yes, maybe that's what I've been searching for all along." Anna covered her face with her hands. She couldn't hold back the tears anymore. For years she had carried the weight of loneliness, of struggle, of pain. And now, here was a man who had everything but felt just as empty as she did. Collins stood again, his decision firm. "Anna, I don't want to just help you. I don't want to give you charity. I want to give you both a future. A home. A chance to live, not just survive. Let me do that, not as your boss, but as someone who cares." The words hit her like thunder. She didn't know if she could accept them. But when she looked at Lily, she saw hope shining brighter than ever before. And in that moment, Anna realized she couldn't deny her daughter a chance at happiness. Her voice broke as she whispered, "All right. I'll trust you." Collins exhaled deeply, as though he had been holding his breath for years. His shoulders relaxed, and for the first time, he truly smiled, Not the polite smile of a businessman, but the warm, genuine smile of a man who had found something precious. Days turned into weeks. Anna began her new role as Collins's assistant, learning quickly and working with dignity. Lily started school, her laughter filling the mornings with joy. Collins often visited, bringing books, crayons, and sometimes just his presence. Slowly, the three of them began to form something that looked like family. One evening, as the sun set behind the city skyline, Collins stood with Anna and Lily outside the building. Lily held both their hands tightly, swinging them playfully. "Mama," Lily said brightly, "we're not alone anymore." Anna looked at her daughter, then at Collins. Her eyes softened. "No, sweetheart," she whispered. "We're not." Collins felt his chest tighten, but this time it wasn't from loneliness, it was from a fullness he hadn't known in years. For the first time, the emptiness inside him had been replaced by something real. Family. And he silently promised himself that he would never let it go.